experienced firsthand in a collaboration you and I had a couple years ago with the Rogers Park specific jobs program that Harry Osterman, Larry Sufford, and some others tried to cobble together basically in the absence of anything else.
Right.
And we were able to find work for upwards of 100 kids. You know, it was not big work. It wasn't full work. It was all part-time.
But it's work. I mean,
But it was, exactly. And I saw your organization specifically really step up and knew the ground it was walking on. And I was impressed that, you know, you helped keep that program together, as well as the folks over on Alternatives
Yep.
folks. They did a great training. And the training that preceded it was key. I just want to say that for kids who are either just barely in school or have been dropped out or kicked out, just the training of how to approach an employer.
Right.
As an employer, it was key.
How you dress, how you talk,
how you dress, how you
present
talk,
yourself.
how you come in a little bit ahead of time,
Right.
you know, all of that sort of thing. And that these kids were really starting at step one, or, you know, very
And before we started talking, got on the air, I said I grew up in the neighborhood and I used to deliver newspapers up, and that was in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade.
Right.
And that, you know, you learn just how to do the work. You got to do it every day. Some days you want to do it, some days you don't.
Right.
And we used to go over on Morse Avenue. You know, we'd get our pay $3.50 a week. We thought we were kings.
Right.
And go buy hot dogs over on Morse Avenue at Hilda's Hot Dogs. You know.
Big men on campus.
Yeah, money in our pocket, and
right.
that little experience builds again and again.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing that we were noting beforehand was that the jobs, one of my first jobs after running basically a daycare in my backyard and I used to charge the moms 15 cents an hour. And guess what? The second kid was 10 cents an hour. I had like 2 mothers with 3 boys. They were there every day like clockwork. Please take them. But after that, I was a dental assistant. The jobs I did as a 16, 17, 18-year-old are now done by adults in this economy.
Right. The economy is much tougher for kids by far now.
Right.
The lower income you have and the lower education you have, it's much tougher to find jobs.
Right.
If you were a dropout 40 years ago, you could get a job in a factory. All those jobs are gone.
Right.
They're automated. The only group getting more jobs in terms of employment are 55-year-olds and older. Young people, in the past year, the rate of employment for young people in the country was the lowest, goes lower each year, and it's going to be lowest this summer than it has been in basically recorded history going back to World War II.
Okay.
So it's tougher and tougher for kids to find jobs.
All right, so take that alongside of the underfunded schools of our state, for just starters, and much less the rest of the country. Well, I mean, wouldn't it be a perfect time, for example, to launch an entirely different model where public school became something that went year-round and actually did support job-type, work-type growth experiences?
Absolutely, where you combine education and work.
Exactly.
Right.
For the ones who are not getting it any other way.
There were a lot of programs run through the Carter administration from 77 to 80 that did that on a massive scale. They combined education and work. They replicated middle-class kids work throughout the year a few hours, and they work much more in the summer. And it replicated that for, you know, the same thing for lower income kids. Yeah, and again, the 2 things you want kids and teenagers to learn is to do well in school and get the skills so they can move on, but also learn what it is to be in the real world in work. You don't want that to interfere with school, but that's a good place to learn stuff too.
I figure it's time for new models, right?
Right. Well, the new model, it's really an old model because it was funded.
It's true, actually, and it's even older still when you consider that kids were working really hard prior to the 30s.
Right.
When we
Well, I mean, if you go up in the northern suburbs and you look at middle-class neighborhoods, those kids go to school and they also work at 3 times, 4 times more than low-income kids.
Right.
And it's just a good experience for them.
Exactly. Builds tolerance for all kind of intolerable situations,
Well,
which we all know that's what work is
I've
about.
delivered 7-Up and done all sorts of odd jobs, landscaping and everything.
So you learn how to make the best out of it by
Right, and that's really what kids get out of these summer
life
jobs.
lessons.
Well, no, that's what it's really important.
Yeah. We're talking with Jack Wuest, who is the Executive Director of Alternative Schools Network and also a pretty active collaborator with others concerned about youth employment and programs that are meant to alleviate the incredible lack of youth employment. So for concerned citizens out there, what would be your prescription for them, actions they could take to affect this issue right now?
I think one is just to let their elected officials, the congressmen and Senator Durbin and Senator Burrs, who've been good on this issue, to keep calling them and letting them know how important this is. Those guys are great on the issue, but it helps to get more people to be calling their offices, sending them letters and emails or whatever, just so they can say when they're on the floor, look, there's a huge groundswell of support for this.
Right.
That's very important. The congressional delegation here has been great. Danny Davis, Louis Gutierrez, Bobby Rush, just a whole range of Congressman Jan Schakowsky. What the thing is now, we have to convince some Republicans in the Senate, hopefully, that they will allow the opportunities for these young people, the same opportunities that President Reagan's father and brother had to have jobs when they need jobs.
So how are you going about convincing those guys?
Well, I don't really lobby. We have a kind of a big list of people we get information out to regularly, and let them know what's going on, and people make their own decisions. But they understand a lot of them are community groups, and they understand it's important for the kids they work with to have a job in the summer. So they're doing what they can. Groups in Boston are working with the Senator Scott Brown, and we're hoping that Olympia Snow and Susan Collins up in Maine, who are moderate Republicans, will understand the issue and also support this too. There's a few Republican votes they need in the Senate to really get this moving.
So you still believe in the model that Obama is espousing, which cross the aisle and get the votes we need?
Well, in the Senate, you
must.
In the Senate, you have no choice at this point. I mean, you really have to get this. You got a crazy situation where a minority of 41 votes can basically run the country.
Right. It's pretty strange. And then I saw just on one other piece that you sent through in the email that contacting Senator Harry Reid as well as Tom Harkin from Iowa.
Right, and they've been excellent. Reid's the leader in the Senate, and Harkin's the probe guy in the Senate out of Iowa. And again, they've been good. If Scott Brown had not won that seat, we would not even be sitting here.
Yeah.
Because that vote would have passed in March.
Ooh, wow.
It's that simple.
Wow. So tell us what website people can go to get more information. Oh, yeah, put you on the hot seat.
Oh, I don't have a website.
The gal Jitu Brown over at Kenwood Oakland Community Organization.
Yeah, Coco.
Coco, she might have something on their website.
Yeah, Coco, Kenwood Oakland Community Organization.
Yeah, KOCO.
Right.
And there's probably something else, but
we'll try to get something on our website, but we're a little behind.
You know what? I've noticed that about a lot of our websites these days. Something is failing when we can't get the stuff on there. It's interesting for me to note that Blagojevich was the guy who actually kept some of these kids to work programs.
They had a very big program in the state.
He really did.
2 years ago, it employed 10,000 kids.
Yeah. All right, and then the other one that you just informed me of is the TANF money this summer that's available.
There's a program that called, it's for between now and the end of September. Put Illinois to Work. You can go, Google that, and then it's Put Illinois to Work. That's a program for 18 to 21-year-olds who live at home or a relative, or 18 and older who have a minor child, someone 17 and under.
Okay.
They can work up to 30 to 40 hours, $10 an hour between now and the end of September.
All right. Well, I really thank you for your time today on this Saturday morning. The fog has lifted a bit. I don't mind it. It's sort of mysterious, like San Francisco.
We hope the fog lifts off the Senate and they go with this vote.
Indeed. Well put. Well stated. So, folks, let's give a big round of applause for Jack Wuest and Alternative Schools Network and the work you continue to do. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Jack.
Katy.